Published 1325 EDT, the 21st of October 2017. Updated 0154 EDT, the 22nd of October 2017. A presidential love-in took place on a stage in Texas last night as former presidents Jimmy Carter, George H.W. and George W. Bush, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama gathered to raise money for the areas ravaged by the latest hurricanes. The former commander Sinchev heaped praise on each other despite their political differences and called for unity and bipartisanship in tackling the issues facing areas trying to recover in the southeastern U.S. as well as Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. However, one man was notably absent from the gathering: the sitting president Donald Trump. It is unclear whether Trump was invited to the event, but he did not take to the stage and instead recorded a short video message that was shown earlier in the evening. In it, Trump praised the work of his predecessors he called some of America's finest public servants. His kind words were not met with kindness in return. None of the other politicians addressed Trump in their speeches and refused to mention him altogether. It comes after George W. Bush caused a stir with his comments targeting Trumpism. He was joined on stage with his father George H.W., who at 93 appeared in a wheelchair at the event. The five living former presidents appeared together for the first time since 2013 on Saturday at a concert to raise money for victims of devastating hurricanes in Texas, Florida, Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Pictured above on stage from left to right are former presidents Jimmy Carter, George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama. Democrats Obama, Clinton and Jimmy Carter, and Republicans George H.W. and George W. Bush gathered on stage in College Station, Texas, home of Texas A&M University, putting aside politics to try to unite the country after the storms. Though none of the presidents mentioned Trump by name, their joint appeal for unity and praise for the country's post-hurricane cleanup appeared in stark contrast to what many say has been the divisive nature of the current presidency. Former President George H.W. Bush is seen above being wheeled off stage on his wheelchair by his son, George W. Bush, as Clinton and Obama follow the presidents gathered on stage in College Station, Texas, home of Texas A&M University, putting aside politics to try to unite the country after the storms. Texas A&M is home to the Presidential Library of the elder Bush. George W. Bush, far left, Clinton, and Obama joined the Texas A&M choir during the singing of the national anthem. At 93, George H.W. Bush, seen second from left next to Carter, has a form of Parkinson's disease and appeared in a wheelchair at the event. Clinton and Carter look on as the concert featured the country music band Alabama, Rock Roll Hall of Famer Soul Man Sam Moore, gospel legend Yolanda Adams, and Texas musicians Lyle Lovett and Robert Earl Keen. George H.W. Bush's wife Barbara Wright and George W. Bush's center wife Laura Bush left were in the audience. The presidents set aside politics for one night in the name of a good cause. Democrats Obama, far left, Clinton, and Carter look on from the audience. The 44th president seemed to be enjoying himself as concertgoers behind him rose to their feet. Obama and Clinton were roused to their feet in applause, while Carter was more laid back. There is precedent for former presidents joining forces for post-disaster fundraising. George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton raised money together after the 2004 South Asia tsunami and Hurricane Katrina. The next year, President Donald Trump recorded a message for the concert in which he praised his predecessors as some of America's finest public servants. This wonderful effort reminds us that we truly are one nation under God, all unified by our values and our devotion to one another. Trump side. The concert featured the country music band Alabama, Rock Roll Hall of Famer Soul Man Sam Moore, gospel legend Yolanda Adams, and Texas musicians Lyle Lovett and Robert Earl Keen. Carter was the first to address the audience. He touted Americans' volunteerism while urging the public to donate to Habitat for Humanity, an organization that helps build homes for the poor. Clinton also addressed the crowd, praising his predecessor in the Oval Office, George H.W. Bush. When President George H.W. Bush was trying to persuade the Congress to pass one of his noblest endeavors, the Americans with Disabilities Act, he said, "Our problems are great, but the heart of America is greater," Clinton said. "That's what we're here to celebrate. We were all citizens, even us, before we were politicians. After our time was up, we became citizens again. We've been volunteering since before our Constitution, when Benjamin Franklin organized the first volunteer fire department in Philadelphia. Our neighbors and our friends have gotten an enormous amount of sweat equity from all these volunteers and a lot of money. But make no mistake about it, these were grievous storms back to back." Carter was the first to address the audience. He touted Americans' volunteerism while urging the public to donate to Habitat for Humanity, an organization that helps build homes for the poor. Clinton also addressed the crowd, praising his predecessor in the Oval Office, George H.W. Bush. George W. Bush and Obama look on as Clinton addresses the audience. Make no mistake about it, these were grievous storms back to back. Clinton told the audience, it can be a new beginning if we just do what we ought to do and prove that the heart of America, without regard to race or religion or political party, is greater than our problems. Clinton said the next to address the crowd was Obama, who received the loudest ovation from the audience. Obama said that the storms and the response brought out the best in America. All of us on this stage tonight could not be prouder of the response of Americans, the 44th president said. When they see their neighbors, when they see their friends, when they see strangers in need, Americans step up. He sighed, there is still work to be done in Texas and in Florida, and our friends in Puerto Rico and the American Virgin Islands have only begun to dig their way out of what could be still a calamitous disaster, but it can be a new beginning if we just do what we ought to do and prove that the heart of America, without regard to race or religion or political party, is greater than our problems. The next to address the crowd was Obama, who received the loudest ovation from the audience. Obama said that the storms and the response brought out the best in America. All of us on this stage tonight could not be prouder of the response of Americans, the 44th president said. When they see their neighbors, when they see their friends, when they see strangers in need, Americans step up. As heartbreaking as the tragedies that took place here in Texas and in Florida and in Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands have been, what we've also seen in the spirit of America at its best. When ordinary people step up and do extraordinary things, the One America appeal is part of that process. Obama also praised George H.W. Bush, calling him an outstanding American, somebody who has always shown grace and character and courage and served America nobly throughout the years. We are so proud to be here with him today, Obama said. He sets an example for all of us, as does First Lady Barbara Bush. Pop star Lady Gaga was the surprise guest at the event. Sometimes life gives us a million reasons to give up, but we stick around, Gaga said before beginning her two-song set during the hurricane season. Lady Gaga contributed $1 million to relief efforts. She also plans to help victims suffering mental trauma after the hurricanes through her Born This Way Foundation. Lady Gaga even found time to pose with the 5 living presidents backstage. Nothing more beautiful than everyone putting their differences aside to help humanity in the face of catastrophe, the pop star tweeted. The 5 former leaders of the free world also posed for a photograph without Gaga. Bush's son, George W. Bush, spoke briefly about his father, saying that the audience loves him. Those in attendance clapped in thunderous applause and gave the 41st president a standing ovation. Earlier on Saturday, Trump recorded a video greeting that avoids his past criticism of the former presidents and called them some of America's finest public servants. In the video, the sitting president said Americans pray for those who lost their homes or their livelihoods. In the aftermath of these terrible storms, the American people have done what they did best. We came together, we helped one another, and through it all we remained resilient. We came together as one as we rushed to the aid of Texas, Louisiana, Florida, Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, the president said. Through this effort, all 5 living former presidents are playing a tremendous role in helping our fellow citizens recover. To Presidents Jimmy Carter, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush and Barack Obama, Melania and I want to express our deep gratitude for your tremendous assistance. This wonderful effort reminds us that we truly are one nation under God, all unified by our values and our devotion to one another, Trump said. On Thursday, George W. Bush decried bullying and prejudice while defending immigrants and trade in a New York speech that appeared to be a sweeping, thinly veiled critique of Trump. It's the old guard in revolt against Trump and Trumpism. This is the battlefield right now, said Douglas Brinkley, a prolific presidential biographer and history professor at Rice University in Houston. There's no question that having an ex-president from the same party squaring off on a sitting president, that's not something George W. Bush relishes doing. The last time the 5 were together was in 2013, when Obama was still in office, at the dedication of George W. Bush's Presidential Library in Dallas. In a promotional video for the appeal, Obama, 56, said he and the other former presidents wanted to help Americans rebuild. People are hurting down here, was the message of George W. Bush, 71. Clinton, 71, said Hurricane Harvey brought terrible devastation. But it also brought out the best in humanity. George H.W. Bush, 93, said we love you, Texas. It is his charity which has organized the concert. Carter, 93, the 39th President of the United States, also took part in the message. The presidents were last together in 2013 when they opened the Bush Library in Dallas. There is precedent for former presidents joining forces for post-disaster fundraising. George H. W. Bush and Bill Clinton raised money together after the 2004 South Asia tsunami and Hurricane Katrina. The next year, Clinton and George W. Bush combined to seek donations after Haiti's 2011 earthquake. "It's certainly a triple, if not a home run, every time," said Brandon Rottinghaus, a political science professor at the University of Houston. Presidents have the most powerful and prolific fundraising base of any politician in the world. When they send out a call for help, especially on something that's not political, they can rake in big money. Amid criticism that his administration was initially slow to aid storm-ravaged Puerto Rico, Trump accused island leaders of poor leadership, and later tweeted that electric and all infrastructure was disaster before hurricanes, while saying that Federal Emergency Management Agency, first responders and military personnel wouldn't be able to stay there forever. Former presidents are L. George H. W. Bush, Barack Obama, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton and Jimmy Carter pictured above together in 2009, but Rottinghaus said those attending Saturday's concert were always going to be viewed more favorably since polling consistently shows that any ex-president is seen as less polarizing than the current president. "They can't get away from the politics of the moment," he said of current White House occupants. "Ex-presidents are able to step back and be seen as the nation's grandfather." Hurricane Harvey slammed into Texas Gulf Coast as a Category 4 hurricane on August 25, eventually unleashing historic flooding in Houston and killing more than 80 people. Shortly thereafter, all 5 ex-presidents appeared in a commercial for a fundraising effort known as One America Appeal. In it, George W. Bush says, "People are hurting down here." His father, George H. W. Bush, then replies, "We love you, Texas." A website accepting donations, onlyamericaaPpeal.org, was created with 100% of proceeds pledged to hurricane relief. Hurricane Irma subsequently hit Florida and Hurricane Maria battered Puerto Rico, while both affected the U.S. Virgin Islands.